43 stopping the vehicle Central and 40th Place. 13L30 is behind the unit.
Sit back and relax. Your group therapy session has started. Welcome to Alone and Unsupervised.
Hey guys, welcome to another session of Alone Unsupervised. As always, I'm Isaiah.
I'm Frank.
So today we figured we'd talk about a topic that I don't know, could help new people in law enforcement, or maybe it could help some of the old salt dogs try to understand some of the new recruits. We thought we'd talk about what we wish the new recruits actually knew. So with that, I guess I'll start with, you need to understand that the academy is just a foundation. If you can get a good foundation that you can build off of, that's what the academy's for. It's not meant to you hit the streets and you automatically know everything about law enforcement, because that's not how it is. Frank's been doing this for what, almost 20 years?
17 now.
Okay. And do you know everything about law enforcement?
I do not.
Yeah.
Nor will I ever.
Yeah, because it's I often loop medicine and law enforcement in like a universe together, because it's ever evolving, it's ever changing. And the moment you think you have it all figured out, it's time to get out, because you're going to hurt somebody.
No, I 100% agree with that. When it comes to, anytime you get training in something, it's like you automatically, you get that certificate, you get that diploma, you get that degree, you get whatever, and you automatically think, okay, I've mastered my craft, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just one of those things where that's not the case. Just when you think you know everything, you're going to get something else thrown at you. And I think a lot of recruits we see come in to this job now, I think part of the problem is it's the mindset that they start with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are certain times, there are certain things that it just takes years to learn. And, you come out of the academy with an ego almost, that you're prepared for anything, you can handle anything, when in reality, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and finish that thought.
Well, I mean, obviously, looking back, obviously I have 17 years to look back on. There's definitely a huge difference between day one out of the academy versus now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people who get out of that, or who get out of the academy, and then they just have this mindset like, I'm the police, you have to listen to me. And, if I have to die on that hill, I'm going to do that. Well, no, that's not the case. I mean, there's a certain amount of grace that comes with the job, too.
Yeah. I think a big one, there's two that come to mind. So before we started filming the session, Frank and I were having a conversation about what are good things that we need to make sure that we bring up. And, we were talking about like sense of urgency and stuff like that. Yeah, you need to have that. You need to know what calls you can take your time to get to, what calls you need to get to that are right now. I think that comes with experience. You'll be able to figure that out. It's like, hey, is this a code run call or is this not a code run call? Like you'll figure that out in time. But I think the biggest thing that I wish people would know or understand is that complacency kills. This job is very serious, and you need to treat it as such, because the moment you let your guard down is the moment that young teenager that you just pulled over, it's a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, what if that young kid's got a gun in the car, or a pew in the car, or what have you? There's a million different scenarios that we can run down. But also, it's important to understand that actions have consequences, but also with that, inaction also brings its own set of consequences.
100%. Yeah,
And
I agree.
Those are those are two of the big things that just kind of hit me in the head right now.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've seen kind of right off the bat is it seems like the idea of this job it changes, or it has changed quite a bit. I mean, people don't really understand. Yes, this is a job, but it's something that you're rarely going to just work your shift. I mean, there's times you're going to have to work overtime. There's times you're going to have to come in early. There's times you're going to have to stay late. And people don't necessarily take that into consideration. Like, it's an inconvenience now.
Mm-hmm.
And I get people have lives.
Yeah.
But you still have to understand that just because, the clock hits 5 o'clock doesn't mean you're done.
Yeah. This isn't an office job.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your basic 9 to 5.
Yeah. And so, I mean, with that, though, too, is a degree of personal responsibility that you have. You have to take the time to understand what's going on in the world, what's new with case law, how is what I'm doing right now going to potentially affect things.
Well, and even to take it a step further than case law, excuse me, like our state, for instance, every certain month, statutes get updated.
Mm-hmm.
It's your job to go seek that. It's your job to find that. Now, will the prosecutor or your DA or whoever is filing these charges, are they going to come in and do a legal update? Maybe.
Not everywhere, though.
Where I came from, we had to go seek those legal updates. This is the first, well, I've only been at 2 agencies, but this agency was the first one I've been at where we actually sat down. They came to us and they gave us a rundown on the legal update and what that looks like and how they want us to process those charges.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Yeah, and I mean, we're lucky in that aspect, but it's not always the case. So,
yeah.
But even still, we can't necessarily wait for that one time a year because, I mean, how many Supreme Court decisions could come out between now and then?
Yeah. Well, and everybody, and this is not me trying to get on a political spectrum. This is just me trying to explain to the young officers out there that case law does change. Look at Roe v. Wade. People thought that was never going to change. And look what recently happened. You know what I mean? So that's proof that stuff does change. Now, are there certain case law that you need to pay attention to get a good understanding of law enforcement? Yes, absolutely. Tennessee v. Garner, Arizona v. Gant. There's a lot more, but I would say there's probably 10 basic ones that you need to understand backwards and front, but also pay attention to the other ones because you don't know when you're going to be in a jam. Let's say that you're going after a dude that's got a felony warrant and you see him through the window. I know that I can kick in that door. You know that you can kick in that door, but at the same time, there's other aspects you have to pay attention to, like, is it his house? Is he renting the house? There's a lot of things that you got to make that split-second decision that you have to know the answer immediately because, again, actions have consequences.
Yeah, and, while knowing case law is important, it's also incredibly important to know that your action or inaction can become case law.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And also, people are so worried about going against the V, which is, Isaiah versus the United States, right? Like, I don't want that in a bad way, but there's good ways to make case law too.
Yeah.
We don't really hear about those ones much.
No, this tend to not make the news very much.
Yeah. But so we've hit on actions and consequences. We've hit on complacency. We've hit on case law. We've hit on have a sense of urgency. You got anything else?
I mean, I still can't help but, go back to ego again because ego is going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to remember that if you're going to be in this job, you can't take things personal. You really can't.
No.
Because if you take everything that's said to you, every gesture that is aimed towards you, personal, think that you can act simply because of, a degree of disrespect,
Mm-hmm.
you're in for a very hard time.
Well, and some of these younger guys need to think if you are dealing with a guy that's been locked down for a while, there's a good chance that he understands the law better than you do.
Mhm.
And there are some things, hey man, take off these cuffs and let's see what kind of man you are. Don't take that bait. You know what I mean? And I've personally, thankfully, I haven't seen people take that bait before, but you hear about it all the time.
All the time.
And it's yeah, you gotta have thick skin, and you gotta let these words run off your back like water off a duck.
Yeah, because again, people, it's not illegal to insult you.
Yeah.
It's not illegal to flip you off
Yeah.
or to insert any kind of gesture here.
Yeah.
But again, you have to realize is you are supposed to be the professional no matter what.
Yeah.
Now, do we all have bad days? Yeah, we all have bad days. I can think of many instances over my career where I didn't react like I should have. But the key to that, and again, it comes with ego, is you have to learn from those experiences. You have to use those experiences to help make you better.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're just going to end up in a repeating cycle, and it's not going to end well.
Well, and let's be honest. A guy that fixes printers every day has a bad day versus a cop that has a bad day. Who has the chances of putting their community, their department, their whole life on the front page of news?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, those are things you got to think about too. And honestly, if you aren't willing to get into a job where one misstep, one bad decision could take your freedom away, then you probably shouldn't get into this job.
Yeah.
Well, those are things you have to think about. And I'm not trying to scare anybody away from, seeking law enforcement, but those are things you have to think about. Is this one decision, is this one guy making this one comment worth my freedom? Because that's what it's probably going to come down to, is if you take the bait and you punch that guy in the face or whatever action that you see fits his deal, there's some pretty severe consequences on the end of that.
And even with that too, part of that ego thing is knowing that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
So we've touched on training in the past. Training is super important.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you also have to realize it doesn't matter how long you are in this job, you are going to be faced with something at some point, probably, if not daily, at least weekly, that you're not trained for.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, part of that ego is, well, one, realizing that, and two, understanding when it's time to maybe ask for help.
Oh, yeah, for sure. How many times have I called you and was like, hey, man, I already know the answer to this question, but I just want to check with you and make sure that I'm thinking the right way. Here's what I got. Here's what I'm going to do. Yeah, man, sounds good to me. Okay, cool, thanks. Just wanted to check with you real quick.
Mm-hmm. And there's also times, too, where I may get a scenario where I'm like, I don't know. I'll call somebody else, and they're like, wow, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, eventually we have to figure out an answer.
Yeah.
But again, you're not going to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be trained for everything. And that right there, I think that's one of the biggest problems we see is we have a public perception when we become like the catch-all for things.
Dude,
and
yes.
There's something we're not even trained to do. So
Yeah.
Again, there's nothing wrong. And again, it goes back to ego. You have to admit that you don't know, or you have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to me, like the ego is a double-edged sword there, because on the one side, you can't take things personal. You have to realize by virtue of your job, people are going to be disrespectful. People are going to be rude. But you also have to realize too that you can't be too proud to ask questions either.
Yeah.
And recognize you don't know everything.
Yeah. And another thing you have to understand, and it again, it goes back to complacency, which I know we already talked about, but you have to understand the fact that in this job, there's a chance. Now, in life, there's a chance we're all not going to make it home, right? All of us are not going to go home one day, right?
Mhm.
We all have a number. It's only a matter of time until it's pulled. But you got to understand that this job is serious and you have to treat it as such. And you got to be okay with the fact that I may not come home tonight. Now, I'm not saying roll over and take it. No, that's not what I'm saying. You have to have a winning mindset. You have to have a survival mindset. And my academy did a good job of pursuing that. But the dude that was teaching that class to us, he was a combat vet, so for all intents and purposes, he was a subject matter expert in that,
Mhm.
and but I just think a lot of these newer guys come in and they think that everything's going to be okay, everything's hunky dory, nothing bad is ever going to happen to me. I've been fortunate to go home every night, but there's been a couple situations I've been put in, and I'm like, oh God,
Mhm.
one misstep and that could have been wrong or bad. I mean,
And I think it's important to also acknowledge we're not just necessarily talking about people who graduate the academy today. I mean, honestly, this is probably the same conversations that veteran cops have been having for years.
oh, for sure, yeah.
But again, luckily for us, we've now been doing this job long enough that we're starting to recognize and understand
Mhm.
how we can be better and how we can better prepare, those coming into this job.
Mhm.
And to a degree, I mean, veteran officers have to also take a degree of responsibility for this. And we have to understand our own shortcomings that we've had in the past when it comes to training and mentoring.
Yeah.
Because too often, I remember doing a paper on this for a police command college that I did. And the whole premise of it is we would not give a brand new officer out of the academy the keys to the car and a badge and send them on their way
Mhm.
day one.
Mhm.
Well, paraphrase. I think there are some agencies that do that, but
Yeah.
not around here.
Yeah.
But with that being said, if we wouldn't do that, then why would we also give a person a title of field training officer? Or why would we give somebody corporal stripes or sergeant stripes or, any kind of other rank,
Mhm.
responsibility, and position of authority without training them prior?
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to that. And we could probably look back at this session 10 years from now and point out all the things then that we don't know right now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And we could probably have an even longer conversation about what we wish people knew,
Yeah.
not just new officers, but also
Yeah.
new but also, mid-tier experienced
Mhm.
officers. Like, again, it's a evolving process.
Yeah. Yeah. And then something else too, like you in this job, whenever I hit the road, I thought I was going to save the world,
Hmm.
as I'm sure you did too. You have to make peace with the fact that you can't save everybody.
Correct.
Like you just gotta understand that, and it sucks when you're in that situation and whatever type of scenario you want to throw out there, um, you just can't save everybody in that, and you gotta learn to let it go.
Yeah.
Because those ghosts will haunt you.
Hmm. And really, I mean, another thing that I think is important for new recruits to understand: this job is like a roller coaster. So your entire time through training, you're going to feel completely lost.
It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Near the end of your training, you're going to start to feel more confident.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get on your own. And you're again going to feel like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Am I ready for this? Am I ready?
Because you don't have that safety blanket of your FTO with you.
Then what's going to happen is eventually things are going to click, and you're going to be like, all right, I can do this.
Or they won't.
Well, mentally in their head, they'll think they can do it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, instead of that next downward slide,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like a roller coaster. You go
Tick,
right
tick,
up,
tick,
right
tick,
up,
tick,
right
tick,
up,
tick,
right up, and then something happens, and then it's so it's not just a steady one-sized roller
Mm-hmm.
coaster. I mean, there's going to be some pretty big peaks and some pretty large drops also that you have to keep in mind.
I think a better analogy would be the stock market.
Yeah.
There's pretty big peaks and there's pretty low lows.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then also I found this out the hard way. I don't know why I didn't realize this, but thankfully I'm the type of person that didn't care. But there's some people that are in your life that whenever you get in this job, poof, they're gone because you are them now. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And just like we talked about, yes, this is a job. You have a responsibility to understand that and to do things appropriately. There's also the other side to that is this can't be all you do.
Yeah.
You can't be sitting at home listening to the radio nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know FOMO is real.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, it's necessary. I mean, you have to miss things. You have to have that time away from.
Oh yeah.
Away from everything, also, and one of the best examples I've ever heard of this is there was a training I did where it talked about well-being, and within that training, the guy started with a diagram. This is you, and then you have all these branches out. This is your family. These are your hobbies. These are your friends. Here's this and that and this and that. If you don't do things the right way in this job, eventually those friends or those hobbies are going to kind of disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually those friends are going to disappear.
Yeah.
And if you keep going down that path, eventually all of those external things you have are going to disappear. And all there's going to be is
that
just
big
you.
Circle. Yeah.
Just you.
Yep.
And you have you have nothing.
Yeah.
So again, it's all about balance too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Before we started filming this, we were doing a TikTok live like we normally do, and I was talking to him about how at my last agency, during certain aspects of the year, like I couldn't turn my brain off. Like it was fight or flight, and I would get home and like I would take my uniform off, I would shower, I would sit on the couch, but like my heart rate's still elevated, my stress is still elevated because I wasn't able to just separate myself from the job because I knew what was waiting for me tomorrow was the same thing as left today, just chaos. You got to find a way to balance, like Frank said. Whether that looks like, I don't know what it looks like for you, but for me, as soon as I come home, first thing I do is I take off my uniform and I go from law enforcement Isaiah to family man Isaiah. I'm attentive to my wife. I'm attentive to my kids. I'm playing with the dog. I'm doing all the things I need to do to separate myself, from the job. Because again, it is a job. You think the printer fixer guy goes home and thinks about fixing printers? No, he goes home and probably fires up a smoker. Puts a rack of ribs on or something.
And I guess one more piece of advice that I would have for any new recruit, and it's not something still even that's talked about as much as it should be, but you are going to experience stressors in this job. You are going to experience bad things.
Mm-hmm.
you also need to be able, when that happens and when things are getting overwhelming, to stand up and say, I need help.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
There's no difference between having to seek help to ask about a call versus seeking help to ask, for assistance in things that are getting overwhelming. And if you let things go, again, you can end up going down a very dark pathway. And so you have to be able to stand up and say, this is not normal for me, or again, I need help somehow.
Yeah. And that kind of goes into something that I wish veteran officers knew
Mhm.
or practiced more is how are we going to have a retention rate if we treat the new guys like trash?
Mhm.
Hey, I'm not going to talk to you until you know what your own tears taste like. Like, that's
Mhm.
screwed up. You know what I mean? But you've heard about it in, maybe movies, TV shows, or maybe real life. Like, we got to do a better job of opening the door for the new guys,
Exactly.
and making them feel like they're part of the team, because that's going to help them better in the long run.
It is. And just like if we start doing some of these things early, then I feel like later on, we're not going to have some of the problems we have when they become veteran officers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the cycle is only going to go how it goes until there's some sort of intervention in place
Mhm.
to make it maybe go into another direction or
Yeah.
to add something else to it.
Well, it's kind of like the DV cycle.
Mhm.
It's not the same thing, but it could be compared to as the same thing. It's the same cycle.
Mhm.
It just keeps repeating itself, and it's
A
up to
happens, which leads to B, which
Yeah.
leads to C, which leads to D.
Yeah. And then also, I think I wish new recruits learned that this job is not for everybody, and that's perfectly okay.
It is.
I have more respect for the guys and gals that get into this job. They do it for, a year, 10 years, however long, and they're like, you know what? It really isn't for me.
Or, I mean, for that matter, even the ones who get partially through training and they realize, you know what, maybe I made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's good to have that conversation with them to make sure that they're not just giving up on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, it takes going through training, going through the academy, getting into some training and seeing some things like firsthand before you can really comprehend, okay, maybe
Yeah.
this is too much.
Yeah. I would recommend if you are thinking about getting into law enforcement, before you take that leap and join the academy, seek out your local agency. See if they offer ride-alongs
Mhm.
to the public. Every agency I know of offers ride-alongs as long as you can pass a basic background check to make sure that you're not some, axe-wielding
Mhm.
horrible person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think, and obviously this list is not all inclusive.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is going to be one of those topics we revisit in the future.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good start.
If we do revisit in the future, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and do the things on all the different platforms that we're on, so you don't miss anything alone and unsupervised.
Yeah. And if you're a veteran, not just law enforcement, if you're, anything that's in the first responder field,
Yeah.
let us know some of the things that you see that you wish maybe the new people straight out of the academy, straight out of training could maybe do better, or something that we could teach them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, and if you're thinking about getting in this job, and you know somebody that's in law enforcement, talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them all the questions. I remember when I was thinking about getting this job, I applied to be a dispatcher because I felt like that'd be a good shoe-in. The agency could learn me, learn my work ethic, see how I am, and then, maybe they'll help me out with the academy or whatever. But I never stopped asking questions to the guys that work the road. And even sometimes I would finish my shift in dispatch, which was an 8-hour shift, and they still had 4 hours left on theirs because they worked 12. I'd call them, hey, can you come pick me up? And I'd hop in their car with them, and I'd finish their shift with them. and I'd just ask them all the questions that popped in my head, whether they were silly, whether they were serious, no matter what it was. I just asked all the questions that I could think of.
I would caution you, though, if you're going to ask some of those questions, you should probably be prepared for legitimate and unfiltered answers.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I think it's that time.
Yeah, with that being said, it is...
That being said, it's time for the ammo can. Well, Frank, you want to do the honors?
All right. Let's see how this one goes. All right. Safety brief of the night. Nothing good ever happens after midnight. Could be sound advice.
My grandma started typing because that's something my grandma always used to tell me. Nothing good ever happens after midnight. Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Lay bye.
Love you, bye.